Hey there, marshmallows. Never one to give up, and I'm glad that I didn't. I'm continuing my journey on Veronica Mars. Episode 2 opens on a...
Previously on Veronica Mars.
And I've got to give it to them. So much has actually happened since the first episode. They actually need a previously on. The episode opens on Wallace trying to get Veronica to crash a party, and it's used to give a little more exposition to the social hierarchy within Neptune.
You want to crash an 09er party?
Maybe. I don't know what an 09er is.
And Veronica herself.
How do you know all this?
So I used to be one of them?
Cut to the party, and we are introduced to a couple more of the 09ers before Weevil and his gang show up. Much like the pilots, I like how Logan doesn't back down to Weevil.
Am I supposed to shake in my boots?
Maybe.
Before the party's broken up by the lamb.
Nah, let's get out, get the kegs. Tell the guys cook out of my place tomorrow night.
The following day, they come over to arrest Weevil's grandma, and we have this week's mystery. Cliff brings the case to Keith, and Veronica can't really help but get involved.
See what I can find.
She heads over to Weevil's to look around, and gets caught in a back and forth.
I'm just saying, with your reputation...
My reputation? Oh, well then I guess what everybody says about you is true too, huh?
She's doing the right thing, but I have to say she is actually outwitted here. After the pilot, it's important to show that Veronica is actually fallible, and maybe has a little ways to go in checking her own biases. Veronica is having breakfast with her dad when Sheriff Lamb comes in to ruin the morning. It's interesting that in their macho need to be right, both men have forgotten that at the heart of the argument is Veronica's best friend. The look on her face should have given it away that this was not the time or place. Veronica heads to the school counsellor's office where she attracts Troy's attention, and finding out Wallace is working there, she immediately capitalises on it.
I need you to copy all of Weevil's attendance records from this past month and get them to me.
Veronica is assigned to the newspaper where she jumps on the photography element. Although it is smart to play to your strengths, it does feel like she's trying to coast her way through this one. For her first assignment, she's paired with Duncan.
I'll drive.
Great, maybe Veronica can...
I can drive too.
Okay, oil crisis be damned.
Looking through the records that Wallace got for her, Veronica establishes that Weevil was missing the opportunity from the list of requirements to commit the crime, before finding out that he has already handed himself in to get his grandma out of jail. Next up, Logan is teasing Veronica again, and Kaylin puts her 2 cents in.
No one cares what you think, Veronica Mars. Not anymore. Not since you stabbed all your friends in the back.
There's something here about stones in glass houses. Veronica gets to her car, finding Logan's latest prank, and Troy attempts to rescue her.
Flat?
Just as God made me.
But Duncan comes along to offer her a ride.
Hey, Veronica, you need a ride?
While in the most awkward car ride ever, Veronica flashes back to a conversation with Lily.
You know what my mom says. You have to kiss a few toads. That's it. That's her entire philosophy.
Why does she hate me?
It's not your fault. She'd hate anyone she thought that Duncan might love as much as her.
This conversation is surprisingly important to some of the mysteries in Veronica's life. Firstly, it gives us a little more insight into Lily's overall mentality towards boys and sexuality. It then goes on to establish that Mrs. Kane's dislike of Veronica reaches far back to when she was dating Duncan. As with the answer to who murdered Lily Kane, all will be revealed, but for now, the breadcrumbs are being laid out. On their way back from the beach, they're pulled over as Lily's influence continues to have a hold.
I guess there were a bunch of tickets. No, not mine. Lily's.
Jake Kane and Keith Mars both turn up to bail their kids out, which spurs another flashback, and a little more exposition regarding their past. On a rewatch, and now having an understanding of how events will play out, it hits a little different. Veronica's tone is ladled with disgust for Jake Kane, and is clearly defensive over what happened to her dad. And to her. But as we later find out, her dad was wrong. This does help to show that Veronica, like all of us, has her biases. The difference is that she's willing to question herself. This is important as it leads her to question Weevil's guilt when he's already handed himself in. The next scene showcases one of the many reasons I love Keith, as he agrees to help her continue looking into the case.
You tried being back, huh?
At the hotel, she finds out that it was Caitlin that signed for the credit card and assumes that it was indeed Logan that had stolen it.
Because you let Caitlin sign for the room service tab.
Well, that's great. Prove it.
Troy takes a second attempt at trying to woo Veronica, which seems to work a little bit better on Wallace.
That was beautiful, man.
But who am I to judge? Logan makes an attempt at antagonising her before questioning Duncan on Troy. Veronica mentions nailing him, showing again she is allowing her bias to impede her investigation. And that's the thing, we rarely look inwardly.
You really hold a grudge.
Yeah, I'm funny that way.
Mysteries work best when the pieces are laid out for the viewer who can then potentially solve it themselves. So, let's look at the facts as we have them so far. Leticia Navarro was arrested for credit card fraud. The charges to the card include video games, limo rides, Magic Mountain tickets, and motorcycle gear. Many of the purchases were made while Weevil was in auto shop, so he lacks opportunity. And also, it's his grandma, so he lacks motive. On Logan's browsing history was the website for the Neptune Grand. Caitlin signed for the room service at the Neptune Grand on the card. So let's take another look at our suspects. We've already decided that it's not Weevil or his grandma. And Veronica is looking at Logan. The charges seem like him, and you wouldn't be wrong for assuming that he might take his girlfriend to an expensive hotel. Also, Weevil crashed his party on the beach, which you could argue gives him motive. But the hotel charges were from a month ago.
I came in here about a month ago with a guy.
Also, there's the motorcycle gear. Equally, I would say that Caitlin is also a bust due to the video games and the motorcycle gear. Logan seems to be fixated on new boy Troy, but he doesn't fit the bill either. When you break down all of the facts as we have them, there really is only one suspect. As Logan finds out. Veronica pulls Chardo into the girls' toilets for a confession just before Logan can catch up to him.
But the best part about it is that your cousin Weevil takes the fall for you. So you're promoted.
I didn't want that to happen.
She goes to Letitia and asks exactly what I was thinking.
You know that Chardo gave you that pendant, but you're letting Weevil do the time for him?
And convinces her of the right thing to do, and Weevil is released. Chardo learns a stark lesson about love when he goes to Caitlin's and is met by Logan and crew. When Weevil rolls up, Logan's expecting another fight. But for once, that's not how it's going to play out.
Let's talk.
Let him go.
You're the man. You know, you and me, we're brothers. Hold them off before they go too far.
The episode ends with Veronica asking to know why her dad went after Jake Kane, which he refuses to answer. And so, she uses the fake ID that Lily made before her death to pick up the driving tickets that she'd accumulated.
Cameras caught Lily running a red light at 6:02 p.m., almost 2 hours after her supposed time of death.
And the plot thickens.
None of the Kanes have alibis that hold up. Jake, Celeste, even Duncan.
If I was to sum up the episode's themes, it's to not judge a book by its cover. All of our cast have various reasons to dislike and mistrust each other. Everyone, including Veronica, make judgments based on stereotypes and previous grudges. These assumptions are what become the barriers to the truth, and as she learns, certain assumptions have been made in relation to the timeline of Lily's murder, which have also become barriers to the truth.